This is the Troll Patrol. Live. With Justin. Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol. Live. My apologies for my absence. Last night I was hiding from the weather. The wind keeps trying to kill me where I live. It all cleared up. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to do a show. And I go to start doing my notes and shit, and just fucking all hell breaks out outside. I'm like, oh, shut all the electronics down. Welcome, Tones. We're going to go ahead and get right to it because we've got a lot of shit to go through, including something that was breaking just now. In the last little bit, Josh Duggar will be released from prison as he awaits trial in his child pornography case. Matt Gaetz, whose friend rolled over on him, had a confession letter that he slept with an underage girl, is still a congressperson. Apparently, the Save the Children people in this country, they don't actually give a shit about saving the children because they don't seem outraged about either of those stories. And that seems very odd to me. The 19 Kids and Counting alum will be released to designated third-party custodians described in court as close friends of the Duggar family. What kind of bullshit white privilege is that? Josh Duggar will be released from jail as he faces charges for receiving and possessing child pornography. During a virtual detention hearing on Wednesday at the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Arkansas, Judge Christy Comstock ruled that the former 19 Kids and Counting star will be allowed to leave the detention center where he has been held since his arrest last week. Seriously, there are poor and disadvantaged people all over this country. They're being held indefinitely for a hell of a lot less. A hell of a lot less. Fuck this motherfucker. Duggar will be released tomorrow to designated third-party custodians. LeCount and Maria Reber, described in court as close friends of the Duggar family, he will be confined to their home and monitored with GPS tracking. The judge noted that she cannot, in good conscience, release Duggar to his pregnant wife Anna and their 6 children. I don't know how you can, in good conscience, release him. What the fuck is wrong with you? However, he has been granted unlimited contact with his children so long as Anna is present. George Floyd had his life ended over the accusation of a counterfeit $20 bill. And they are letting this known monster out. Home confinement, obviously, not just letting him out run loose. But honestly, how? And it's not just the facts of this case, which we know very little of. It's all the things that I personally learned last week when he got arrested that I had no clue about. This motherfucker is a monster. I'm 100% anti-punitive punishment. This motherfucker needs to be kept away from society. It's not about being punitive. It's about protecting people. What the fuck is wrong with this judge? Don't make me regret this decision, the judge advised Duggar, 33, before adjourning. Attorneys for Duggar did not immediately respond to people's request for comment. Earlier in the hearing, a federal probation officer, DM Nugent, was called as a witness and recommended to the court that Duggar not be released. Seems like the obvious thing. The probation officer said that the Reavers sometimes have minor children over for piano lessons and their adult daughter, and that both LeCount and Maria owned firearms, but not a firearm safe. In her own testimony, however, Maria said they could relocate the piano lessons and remove the firearm should Duggar reside in their home. Why would you want him in your home? LeCount later added that the couple and their adult daughter would ensure that Duggar has no access to their phones or computers. On Tuesday, Duggar requested that the court release him on bail subject to a combination of conditions of release that will reasonably assure his appearance at trial and the safety of the community or any other person. Do you know how you can assure both of those things? Keep his fucking ass in jail, just like the cop in Minnesota awaiting trial. I don't even remember the name of her victim. There's been so many. Because I wanted to say Jacob Blake, but that was the one in Minnesota shot right down the road in the back. The kid that was in the car when she was training, that cop. The city spent $9,000 securing her home when they could have just kept her in jail. Just like they could have just kept fucking Duggar in jail. Once again, not for punitive reasons. I do not believe in punitive justice. Duggar is a monster that should not be released on bail. Period. I'm already worked up. It's wild. People keep coming in my chat and they're like, calm down, dude. Like, that's my brand. I'm known as a rant comic on stage. I rant here on this stream. And goddamn, have you read the news? There are enough things to rant about. We're going to get to all of those. Multiple cops and their murders. A cop in Bristol charged with murder. The cops aren't saying much, but he's been charged with murder, and the facts seem to, from what they've released, it seems justified. So the fact that they've charged him with murder must mean it is overly egregious. We've got cops in Mississippi as a multi-state chase shot an infant. I'm truly upset at all the news stories that are not actually painting it as the cops shooting a baby, because that's absolutely what happened. We're going to read the facts. Somebody called me out on that and said, well, apparently you didn't read the story. No, I read the story. Granted, I read it yesterday. I've been saving, hopefully, an update for here on the show. There was like a giant fly just whizzed by me. He would indeed have been a physical, or been a risk of physical danger in a jail. Good. Holy fuck, that thing is huge. God damn. That's what, this was just breaking, so it happened within the last few hours, I assume. But we didn't really get a good sense of what they were arguing. During Duggar's arraignment last week, it was ruled that he would not be allowed to live with minors if released on bail, but he requested in the motion that he be allowed to return home. He argued in the motion that he is demonstrably not a flight risk, citing that he has known about the federal investigation since November, and that he has no previous criminal convictions. Apparently, I do need a swatter. The motion further argued that because Duggar is a public figure, it is unreasonable to view him as a flight risk. I don't think that's true. I think because he's a public figure and because he has assets and resources, he is indeed a flight risk. Duggar, the oldest of Jim Bob. Yeah, we fucking read all that. He's facing up to 40 years in prison. I hope he gets locked away. Once again, not for punitive reasons, because he is a threat to society. All right, so I do actually have some news to share. It was what I was going to talk about before I found out that Duggar was going to get released from jail, and it made me all pissed off. I got my first shot. I'm a halfway vaccinated individual as of this afternoon. And my arm really hurts. Like, first of all, if you have not had your vaccination yet, you won't feel it. I swear I asked them, like, are you sure you did that? Like, what? So, like, it was nothing, but it is starting to get a little sore right now. Other than that, I feel fine. Maybe a little lethargic, but that happens to me of an afternoon after I eat and take some bong rips anyway. So I'm thinking that's not a side effect of the vaccine. But usually I believe that side effects, if they present themselves, are more prominent with the second dose of the vaccine. I just called up the closest pharmacy. I looked at, you can go to the vaccine finder. They're on the CDC website, you've got the vaccine finder. You can find what vaccine is in what pharmacies have what. The closest pharmacy to me, I called them up. I'm like, hey, what's the dealio? And they're like, hey, you can walk in if you get here before 2. I'm like, alrighty then. Because I was thinking I would schedule it for tomorrow, but I'm like, hey, I've got the afternoon. I can run on down there. The CDC projects a sharp decline in COVID cases in the U.S. by July. Encouraging news. And we need everybody. And I'm not bitching at you, Tones. I know you're going to be on top of it. We need everybody to go and get their vaccinations as quickly as possible. We are in a race against time with the variants and everything. I've been sitting here at home. I don't interact with many people. I was waiting for everybody for it to start clearing out. Read reports last week that pharmacies are starting to waste vaccines, that the demand is softening. So I'm like, let me get my ass down there and get on it. Oh, well, that's craziness. Weren't permitted to do. Because, I mean, like, I was in and out of the pharmacy. It's kind of hard to tell because, like, I waited on a dude. Like, the dude that was, like, getting a prescription filled for a second. All in all, the whole process probably took about 10 minutes total. That's all. To fill out the form, get the jab, and then you have to wait like 15 minutes. I sat there, I waited about 7 minutes, and I called, or I got my Uber. I was going to walk out whether it'd been 15 or not whenever my Uber got there. But then the pharmacist looked at me after about 10 minutes like, you guys are good, go on. Cool. The projection by the CDC depends on high rates of vaccination as well as continued wearing of masks and physical distancing when appropriate. He's got his mask below his nose. That's also... Today was one of my first times being out among the general population. I went out to a couple stores, but smaller stores. I was at a bigger store today. This is the most people I've been around in over a year. I was amazed at the number of people who had their masks below their nose. Here they are walking around with their mask below their nose. I have on an N95 and then a surgical mask over top it. I'm like, fuck you guys. Because I actually got the N95s for when I was going to be in the hospital with my mom and ended up not using them. So I'm like, going to get the vaccination. I've got a pack of 5 N95s. When am I going to need them? I'm going to go get vaccinated. The next pandemic is going to happen just a couple years. That's when. I think they expire, though. The U.S. could be through the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic by July if vaccinations continue at high rates and people wear masks and physically distance when necessary. If's doing a lot of work in that sentence right there. If is really pulling its weight there. That's what I'm worried about. And apparently they've got a double mutant strain that they're just discovering that is highly potent and highly deadly. That's just what we need. You're the only one at your work who still wears a mask. Like your employer doesn't even mandate it? I thought most private employers were mandating masks still. Give them damage vaccine. Oh my God, that makes perfect sense. But hopefully we have an encouraging announcement from the Biden administration we're going to get to that happened in the last few hours. The projections are not definite and can certainly change if people's behaviors change in the next few months. However, they do fall in line with President Joe Biden's assertion that the United States will be able to reach some level of normal by Independence Day. A sharp decline in cases was projected by July 2021, the study's authors wrote. A faster decline is possible in high vaccination scenarios. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Tones. So I guess it's freedom, you can wear a mask if you want to kind of deal. The projections also suggest a reduction in COVID-19 related deaths, mainly because a majority of those most vulnerable, those over age 65, have been vaccinated. That's what we're in a race against. We need to get as many people vaccinated as possible because those other variants are going to ravage young people like they're doing in India. And the numbers on young people willing to get vaccinated aren't that encouraging. Oh. Models are based on what has already been observed during the pandemic, combined with the scientific understanding of how the virus spreads and is impacted by mitigation measures. Those factors put together gave modelers a good indication of what might occur under 4 different scenarios. 6 independent research teams from Northeastern University, the University of Virginia, blah, 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 Johns Hopkins, all came up with basically the same projection. Vaccines plus masking and physical distancing equal a much more manageable outbreak by the summer. That's a hell of a lot of work to do to get people vaccinated and to continue to wear masks and do the physical distancing. Oh, the gun thing. Okay, like he sounds more like one of those libertarians that you can find common ground with. I've got friends like that. And let me ask you guys a question. I have a comedian friend. He's a right winger. I think he considers himself more the libertarian. I've never talked to him about Trump. I have no clue his thoughts on Trump. The last time we talked about politics was like 2015. And I've been wanting to bring him on and have a discussion. He's up for it. So look for that probably like next week. He has an amazing beard because I have no clue what he thinks about Trump and the Trump phenomenon. So I would love to pick his brain on that. Because it was all, I have a feeling he doesn't like him because just as soon as Trump came on the scene, he shut up about politics completely. So, like, he accepts the science and understands, like, oh, we need to do something to mitigate it in order to be able to get back to normal. He's somewhat of an irrational individual, and you might be able to actually talk. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to go badger an employer about politics. That usually doesn't go well. But a pejorative, or not pejorative, a colloquial you, one could talk him into some sense. Biden commits to waiving vaccine patents, driving wedge with pharmaceutical companies. Developing countries had sought a waiver, arguing it would boost coronavirus response. Now, let's read this article. This headline makes me think that helps. That helps. We've learned so much about how Facebook warps people. But it just says Biden commits to waiving vaccine patents. I'm pretty sure that's something Biden could do with a stroke of a pen, one of those executive order things. So I don't know how much I actually consider Biden committing to doing this a good thing. This is from the Washington Post just a couple hours ago. The Biden administration on Wednesday threw its support behind a controversial proposal. What controversial? Who's it controversial with? Other than people in the pharmaceutical industry that have money. Universal Media Group are doing it because like they don't want it to like, oh, you can do that? Especially, aren't we coming up on another instance of the mouse needing to be re-upped? Disney's going to fight tooth and nail to try to make sure that Mickey Mouse doesn't have the copyright lifted on it and become public domain. As it should. They've done it numerous times now. 2 or 3 different times they've gotten the copyright law extended. And I think they're coming up on another fight. Fuck them. So the Biden administration... Oh, have we already covered Chauvin? No. We're going to get to that here. We're going to cover all the cop news here in a little while. We start off with coronavirus tonight because I got my first vaccine. We will actually be talking about the juror... I think there might be video to go with the article. The juror that appeared at the rally with the shirt on, they're gonna try to argue. Fuck, what's that term? I'm not high enough for this shit. Mistrial. Got half my 5G upgrade. Woo woo. Oh, I usually try to save it for when we're watching something. So like I'm taking a hit and there's like entertaining shit going on. So you guys aren't just like watching me hit the pot. But I'm not high enough for that. Tripping over my words. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai said the United States will now move forward with international discussions to waive the protections for the duration of the pandemic. Well, if you'll waive the protections, we might get the pandemic over with. Indeed. They're going to try to argue that he hid it from them when they were doing jury selection, but we'll get to that. Dozens of developing countries have pushed for the proposal, arguing that it would allow them, and we've got so many more cop stories. You know, like, you want to get pissed off tonight? Tonight's the show to watch if you want to get pissed off. But hey, it's not the first time we're covering the cops shooting a fucking kid. There's a lot of IPs I think need to be seized let go into the public domain, shit that needs to be nationalized. There's a lot of things that we need to mobilize in this country. And that's one of the reasons why they're going to fight this so hard, is because if you could do it in this instance, it opens the floodgates. Why can't you do it in other instances? They don't want the attention on this issue. That's probably one of the reasons why they're caving and saying, all right. We're going to think about it. We're in discussions to try to get people like me to get off their asses. And the Majority Report has also been front and center on this issue. Me and my close-knit group here aren't that powerful just yet. You're exactly right, Scrappy. Disney will come after anybody. Disney is one of the most litigious companies on the planet. It's insane. I believe I might be wrong on this one, but I want to say they're the holders of the Happy Birthday song as well. And that they will go after schools and shit over that. Dozens of developing countries have pushed for the proposal, arguing that it would allow them to rapidly produce their own generic vaccines rather than wait months or years for sufficient doses, especially in India, where they have a large supply of the, a large manufacturing base that actually produces vaccines. The decision to go forward with the waiver after weeks of internal deliberations was finalized at a White House meeting on Tuesday with President Biden. This is according to a senior administration official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe the deliberations. This isn't even an official announcement yet. Fucking Nintendo is also incredibly litigious. Staff at the meeting included National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Coronavirus Coordinator Jeff Zients, and Bruce Reed, Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, all of whom supported the decision. But Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, who had concerns about the waiver, of course, the Commerce Secretary, was not included in the meeting, the people said. The Commerce Department declined to comment. Liberals had lobbied Biden to move quickly as coronavirus cases are surging in India and around the world. Senator Bernie Sanders and colleagues celebrated Biden's decision as a necessary step for saving lives while restoring America's position on the global stage. I actually saw video of Biden, I think the Majority Report played it, where he specifically said he was for a waiver for the IPs. That's possible, Scrappy. I'm not sure. We can't really tell, and the story didn't really frame it that way. It also could have been like they excluded her because she had concerns, and they wanted a productive meeting. That one could cut either way on that. I see what you're saying, though. Yeah, I'd 50-50 on that. Or maybe she pulled a Trump, boycotted it. So the small business COVID-19 relief program has ran out of money. The government's key COVID-19 relief program for small businesses has run out of money. The Small Business Administration said Wednesday that the Paycheck Protection Program has been exhausted. This is another reason we did the story about the signatures. Got up to 2 million signatures now calling for recurring stimulus payments. It looks like Congress needs to go ahead and get its act together, take another stab at a stimulus bill, re-up the PPP as well. As of right now, unemployment is going to expire in August, I think. It might be the first week of September. And having seen the way the Democrats went about the first one, they better go ahead and start putting this one together now if they're going to pass it by September, clearly. 2K retroactive would be amazing, but I just 2K going forward for the duration of the pandemic I would settle for that. Jesus. Because also, like, I don't think we're over it. I know what has to be done in order for us to be over it, and that's why my ass went and got my vaccination today. A universal basic income. I've been proposing it for years, and at least starting with food stamps. Every American should get food stamps. $500 a month food stamps, every American. Boom. Remove the stigma from it so you never hear stupid ass right-wingers complaining with what people do with their food stamps. It was nice. I think our generation isn't going to settle for any less. I think big policy change is coming. But we have to be proactive about it because the 2022 midterm is already shaping up. And Republicans might take control of the House. The Senate landscape is prime for Democrats, and they may pick up a seat or two. But holy fuck, the Republicans might take the House in 2022, and we gotta do something about that. That can't fucking happen. And I would like to see more of my friends run for Congress. I would like to see more of my friends run as Republicans. Hey, get some of your friends that don't like the current Republican Party, like my buddy I was talking about, the comedian that just shut up and quit talking about politics when Trump came on the scene. That motherfucker needs to run for office. Or, hey, be like the one girl that ran for sheriff as an anarchist and ran as a Republican. I've got a friend that I asked to primary mansion. I think she would be an excellent politician. Now, I'm totally understandable if she wants to start a little lower and go for the state house in West Virginia. But I already talked to her fucking you should run for mansion, get mansion. Right-wingers are dumb enough to be tricked into a lot of things. That's why I say run as a Republican. We need to start running as Republicans. Get your friends to run as Republicans. Let's take over their goddamn party. There's enough Republicans in the Democratic Party, so fuck. Let's go get some leftists in the Republican Party and try to take it over. Democrat can't win in your area, run as a Republican. I don't give a shit. And then go out there and just say the same thing you would as a Democrat, as a liberal, or probably as a leftist if you're watching this channel. Say the same fucking shit, but run as a Republican. All right, finishing up with the COVID stories tonight before we get into the actual politics. Exactly. As long as you have an R by your name in a lot of these areas, you can win. So just go and fucking run as a Republican. And there are a lot of batshit crazy Republicans running. The Texas district, they just had the special election. There was 12 Republicans. I might have been wrong. There might have been 10 Republicans, 2 Democrats or something like that. But I want to say it was 12 Republicans. In that big of a field, fuck, it's a toss-up anyway. Go run. Run as a Republican. I think I'm on to something, guys. The city of Chicago has announced a concert series for fully vaccinated Chicagoans. Now, when I saw this, it said concert for vaccinated, and I'm like, ooh, I want to go to a concert for vaccinated. I got mine. My arm really does hurt right now. But seriously, that's the only side effect. And the shot itself did not hurt at all. Do not be scared of the shot. Because I'm scared to death of needles, or I probably would have gone sooner and got it. I'm sitting there in the chair trying to pump myself up. Dude's like, whoop. I'm like, fuck, is this over? He's like, yeah, it's over. I reserve the right, if I am feeling some sort of side effects, that I won't do a troll patrol tomorrow. I'll probably soldier through it. Troll patrol reporting for duty. Chicago will host a series of concerts for those who get vaccinated against COVID-19, the city announced on Wednesday. The series is scheduled to kick off on May 22nd in Hyde Park with performances by DJ Ron Trent, Dwayne Powell, The Silver Room. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not a band. Hold on, that fly is back. Ah, fuck it. I was trying to get it. He tested positive for COVID. And he refuses to get back. Well, I mean, the special election that I was talking about in Texas, that was for a Republican congressman that fucking died of COVID. Honey, there ain't no vaccine gonna make me, I mean, like, it could make me gay. Like, I already suck dick. I'm not gay, though. That confuses people. Well, he needs to get vaxxed because if you have COVID, the antibodies leave in like 3 to 6 months. So you're not protected after a couple of months. No, you need to get vaccinated. I say to the nurse in my chat. I wouldn't trust me on any other medical shit, just medical shit that has been made highly political. I've had to learn about so I can throw the facts up in right-wingers' faces. Don't listen to me about anything else medical. Now, anything that's been politicized, I probably know what I'm talking about. The Texas one did go to a runoff. But like the two candidates in the runoff were Republicans. A Democrat did not make it in. Is that the congressman I was talking about, Ron Wright? Are we talking about the same district, or are you bringing up another district? I don't know the name of the city. Like his wife was running to replace him. It was the one where, like, Big Dan Rodemeyer was running. Well, there was more than one that died of COVID. There was, I think the race that we're having in Texas was a dude that won his race, but then didn't get seated. He was a seated congressman, but like he didn't get seated for this Congress. The 107th? Is that what we're in? 114th? I fucking know. Oh, it was Rod. So that's the same race? Big Dan Rodemeyer! When I saw that political ad, I'm like, oh my God! That dude used to be a wrestler. Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, I didn't know if you just got. Okay, so don't get vaccinated if you've just had COVID. But once you've recovered, like, give it a month or so and then go get your vaccination or some shit. There we go. Animal meds. Well, fucking right-wingers are goddamn morons. What do you expect? Also, I was really hoping this concert in Chicago would be somebody I wanted to go see. Now, there may be another event that you want tickets to that they are giving away to people who have been vaccinated. The NFL is giving away Super Bowl tickets to 50 fans vaccinated for COVID-19. The National Football League announced on Wednesday it is giving away 50 free tickets to Super Bowl. What's L? I don't even remember what L is. Is it 40? Is this 46? No, it's higher than that. I don't fucking remember. Heartworm medicine? I got enough drug shit to look out for myself. Oh, it's Super Bowl. So L is 50, so it's Super Bowl 56. Cool. For some reason, I was thinking 50 was some sort of a VV something or other. So the nurse suggests getting it as soon as you are symptom free. God, this fly is huge, guys, and now Smokey's after it. It may wreck my equipment over here. We need to get everybody as vaccinated safely as possible. And if the CDC doesn't recommend getting it if you just had COVID, give it a little time. But don't be scared of it if you haven't had it. It ain't bad at all. I'm a little whiny baby. I do not like needles at all. Ooh, that went over my head, Tones. Can you translate that? I'm sorry. The NFL says that the move is an attempt to encourage Americans to get vaccinated. More than 56% of American adults have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. That number ticked up just a little bit more today as I got mine. Oh, yes. As I understand it, if you're likely to have side effects, it's likely to be the second dose, right? Not really the first dose. Most people I've seen is like, oh, I got a little fever, I felt a little sluggish with the first dose. And then it's like the second. I've got cats tearing something up. Oh, it's that fly. Shit. God damn, there it goes again. Oh, 50-50. Just most of the people I've seen post about it, they're like, oh, it's mild with the first one. They're like, oh, the second one kicked my ass. But just for like a day or half a day or something. Usually like they sleep it off. They're like, oh, I'm way better today. Yeah, everybody's different. It's just like, pot affects everybody different. Medicines affect everybody differently. Thank you. That I'm scared of pain. Like even in the bedroom, I'm like, no, I don't like pain. Hold me, love me, let me be the little spoon. I've been with partners that are like, spank me, choke me, draw blood. No, gentle. You're going to get really drunk the day you get vaccinated? Oh, after the side effects. Makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense, Scrappy. You're whining about it, not even getting it. Like maskless Moses. All right, are you guys ready to get into the hard news? One of the breaking stories. I believe it was yesterday. Judge orders the release of secret DOJ memo used to clear Trump of obstruction. Finally, do you remember back when the Mueller Report was released? Bill Barr came out before it was released, like the day before or 2 days before, something like that. Or maybe it was going to be released on a Monday, came out on Friday afternoon. And he gave his own little press conference and said, like, here's what the Mueller Report's going to say. And it was highly unethical. And even Robert Mueller came out and said, like, hey, that's not what I said. Well, finally, we might be able to get to the bottom of this, and maybe some charges will come from it. A federal judge on Tuesday called for the release of a secret 2019 Department of Justice memo that then Attorney General Bill Barr cited to justify clearing former President Donald Trump of obstruction of justice. Judge Amy Berman Jackson called Barr's public characterization of the Mueller investigation's findings disingenuous and said that the department had not been clear about what purpose the memo would serve. The DOJ had previously argued that the memo should be kept from public view due to attorney-client privilege. That's a weird thing to argue, because it's basically saying that the DOJ is the attorney for the president, and that's not true. The DOJ is the attorney for the American people. The Attorney General is the attorney for the American people. So for him to argue that it was a violation of attorney-client privilege is just simply wrong. He admitted to firing Comey, and that's a completely different thing. We're talking about obstruction of that obstruction in that other in the investigation that was of. It's a turducken of obstruction. He's admitted to several felonies on numerous occasions. He's admitted to being a sexual predator. What's really crazy is I got an ad for a podcast today, and it was a right-wing podcast, and I love it because I told him, I'm like, you paid Facebook to have me troll you today. Like, enjoy that. But she responded back. It was a she because she was responding back to me from her personal profile. I said, because she was talking about finding common ground. Her podcast was about finding common ground. But she had posted about how she loved Trump 3 or 4 times that day. I said, how can I find common ground with somebody who's willing to vote for a man whose own defense secretary said was a threat to the Constitution? And she said, oh God, are you still on Trump? Trump's not the president anymore. I'm over Trump, blah, 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 blah. So then I copied her words and then pasted them under all 3 of the Trump posts she'd made today. Yes, it's a turducken of obstruction. Obstructception. Unfortunately, as much as we would like to banish him, and we're going to talk about how Facebook banished him, it's a weird gray area, gray decision they took today. We're going to talk about that here in a second. You want to banish him, he's getting ready to come back in full fucking force. He launched his social media platform today, which, by the way, is a newsletter with a donate button as the first thing you see. Not really a social media platform. I can't really go to Trump's social media platform and troll him. But they're the same people. The self-righteous Christians are the Trumpers. They're the same. It's the same. It's the Venn diagram is a circle. There are other people with them. There are the militia movement and the hard right, anti-government guys and shit. It's a weird coalition, but the self-righteous Christians are what the movement is hinging on. Motherfuckers. Amen. So Judge Berman has called for the full memo to be released in response to a Freedom of Information Act suit filed by the organization Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Not only was the Attorney General being disingenuous then, but DOJ has been disingenuous to this court with respect to the existence of a decision-making process that should be shielded by the deliberative process privilege. The agency's redactions and incomplete explanations obfuscate the true purpose of the memorandum and the exercise portions belie the notion that it fell to the Attorney General to make a prosecution decision, or that any such decision was on the table at that time. This according to Judge Bremen. Those self-righteous Christians have been a pain in our asses for so long. And you don't get any of the old school Republicans like Dick Cheney, who wasn't an uber religious motherfucker, who was this, war hawk, actual fiscal policy type conservative. You don't see them hardly anymore. And it seems like those ideologies are starting to bump heads within the Republican Party. Liz Cheney, the GOP, is at a turning point, she says. Now, we're going to read excerpts from her op-ed for the Washington Post in this Axios article. Dick Cheney just likes to shoot his friends on his hunting trips. I wonder what that dude had on him, or what that dude wanted to speak up on or something. Cause I don't. And I've seen the dude give interviews and shit, and he claim it was a fucking accident. I wonder though, fucking Cheney is an evil motherfucker. But to catch you up on what is going on with Liz Cheney, a story broke in the last day or two that we are in for a vote in the House Republican caucus that is going to remove her from her leadership position inside the GOP. So facing this vote that is actually, it's going to go through, Kevin McCarthy, the House minority leader, was caught on a hot mic saying that she's toast. So it looks like she is absolutely going to get removed from leadership in the GOP. So she wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming doubled down on her break from former President Trump in an op-ed for the Washington Post on Wednesday, warning the Republican Party must decide whether it's going to choose truth and fidelity to the Constitution. Now, not like Republicans have ever had any care about upholding the Constitution. We saw what happened during the Bush administration. The editorial is her most extensive comment since leadership turned on her. Cheney, the number 3 House Republican, has continued to speak out against Trump since her vote to impeach him for inciting the Capitol riots. So she's getting removed from leadership. It is cancel culture. She's getting canceled for telling the truth. Trump and House Minority Whip Steve Scalise have publicly endorsed Representative Elise Stefanik to replace Cheney. And I'm actually for this move because she is really dumb. And she is prone to saying really stupid things. You can't even flirt with reality. That's right, Tones. While House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy was caught on a hot mic on Tuesday saying he lost confidence in Cheney, I'm guessing he wasn't caught on a hot mic. Things in Washington, they're pretty well planned. Caught on a hot mic. He was on Fox, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure about that, but I'm pretty sure he was on Fox. So more than 60 state and federal courts, including multiple Trump-appointed judges, have rejected the former president's arguments and refused to overturn election results, Cheney noted. That is the rule of law. Republicans, including McCarthy, bolstered Trump's baseless claims of election fraud. The Congresswoman added that she is committed to protecting our democratic processes, no matter what the short-term political consequences might be. I don't doubt that she's going to be an independent. There ain't a chance in hell she turns and goes to the Democratic Party. Now, I think the Democratic Party might actually be able to get like Lisa Murkowski to flip in the Senate. If you offer her enough shit, you can get her to flip. And I think that might be one of the routes that they want to look into as we go into this filibuster fight with Manchin. Bribe Murkowski to flip. Manchin's no longer the kingmaker. He's no longer that 50th fucking vote. We might actually be able to get somewhere with the filibuster. In the immediate aftermath of the Capitol insurrection, she said, almost all of us knew the gravity and the cause of what had just happened. She cited McCarthy's reversal after commenting in January that the president bears responsibility. He later backtracked and told Axios that Cheney continued criticisms of Trump are an unwelcome distraction. I hope they start playing Red Rover on all the centrists. I mean, what centrists fucking are there? Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, that's all you've got. You guys might be able to come up with one more. But, like, honestly, the Republican Party is just fucking batshit at this point. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, the only other woman elected in GOP leadership, defended Cheney on Wednesday, but called for party unity. But Manchin doesn't want to be a Republican, though. That's the weird thing. I could never see him flipping and going to the Republican Party. Which is like he voted with Trump 70% of the time. He just wants to be an obstructionist. That's exactly right. And he gets a lot of money for West Virginia that way. And he gets a lot of kickbacks for his own fucking projects. Like the fucking minimum wage thing. It turned out that like he owns a fucking hotel. Most of the staff is minimum wage. That's why he's against the minimum wage. He's straddling the fence because he is in one of the absolute reddest states. I mean, I'll give him that. He is a Democratic senator from fucking West Virginia, which was like a plus 40 something state for Trump. So, but the crazy part, look, like, Trump campaigned against him. Trump campaigned for his opponent. It's not like Trump campaigned for him. What good did it do him? Trump supports Elise Stefanik. I might be saying her name right. Stefanik. For House GOP conference, because she's from the Northeast, I think. So Stefanik, probably. For House GOP conference chair amid Liz Cheney feud. Former President Donald Trump supports Representative Elise Stefanik to replace Representative Liz Cheney as the House Republican Conference chair. This is according to sources close to the former president. In a statement on Monday, Trump called Cheney a warmonger with virtually no support left in the great state of Wyoming. Now, remember how many times Trump had to be actually talked out of fucking starting a war, calling other people warmongers. And he repeated his past false statements that the 2020 presidential election was stolen, of course. Stefanik, a Republican from New York, has been making calls to gin up support for a challenge to Cheney. Fox News confirmed this week that she has gained the support of top House Republicans as well, including Minority Whip Steve Scalise. A House GOP leadership source told Fox News that a vote next week on Cheney's status as the conference chair is more than likely. So, wow, there you go. They're going to boot Liz Cheney. What do you guys think? Do you think she stays a Republican or does she go independent? She's in Wyoming, and I think she's pretty popular in her state. So, independent? That's my bet. I don't see what the benefit is of staying in a party that boots you from their leadership. I mean, that would hurt my fucking pride, and I'd be like, fuck you guys, independent. but I don't know what I might be, not seeing, just looking at it short-sightedly. The Trump decision from Facebook shows that Facebook can't hide behind its fake court. Yeah, you guys agree. There's nothing to gain from it. I think she's still too hardcore right to actually go. And in Wyoming, I don't think going Democrat would help her at all. I think independent would help her more. She would do what Justin Amash did. Is he still in Congress or did he lose? I think he might have lost after he went independent. Yep, he lost. What you get when you cross Trump in the Republican Party. Back in May 2019, Mark Zuckerberg thought he had cracked it, facing increasing calls to censor voices like Donald Trump while simultaneously being accused of shadow banning conservative voices. Zuckerberg decided to punt. Maybe there are some calls that just aren't good for the company to make by itself, Zuckerberg told an assistant professor of law at St. John's University at a secret meeting of lawyers, academics, and media experts in New York to discuss the establishment of the Oversight Board, which ruled today on President Trump. Not only did the Oversight Board fail to make a decision in its highest profile case to date, remember, we thought we were all getting a decision on whether he was going to be permanently banned today. Yeah, Facebook has no balls. The Oversight Board has no balls. Trump has no balls. Not only did the Oversight Board fail to make a decision in its highest profile case to date, whether former President Donald Trump should be permanently banned, but it punted the decision straight back to the desk of the Facebook CEO. The Oversight Board has been criticized from all sides for being an overtly self-important, quasi-independent arm of one of the most powerful companies in the world. Now, this is a Vice article if you're listening to the podcast version. Facebook has tried to say the board is not Facebook's Supreme Court, but in form and function, it is very similar to a court, with a group of unelected experts issuing quasi-legal decrees with docket numbers and legal-ish reasonings for its decisions. While the board agreed that Trump's post on January 6th increased the risk of violence and his account should have been suspended, it said Facebook was wrong to make the ban indefinite. Technically, they didn't make the ban indefinite. They were kicking the can down the road to the Oversight Board. So instead, it sent the decision about banning Trump permanently back to Zuckerberg. The board insists that Facebook review this matter to determine and justify a proportionate response that is consistent with the rules that are applied to other users of its platform. Well, my Facebook account has been permanently disabled. I certainly didn't incite a riot to try to overturn democracy. So if we're applying the rules fairly and justly across the board, then Trump should be banned. Is death good? That all depends on whose perspective it is. I guess to the person, the death is not good, but to a certain other person, their death might be good. It's all perspective. Death in and of itself, as part of the life cycle of the earth, is very good. Like, fucking Disney wrote one of their best songs about it. It's called The Circle of Life. Elton John, wrote one of his best songs about it. Or if you're like me, you might be more partial to the South Park version, The Circle of Pooh. Same basic principle. Death is the reward for living. That's such a fucking goth thing to say. That's exactly right. The Circle of Life or Pooh. I mean, If I died, would it be good? I would think many people would think that my death would be very good. To me, it would not be good. Resident Evil comes out tomorrow. I want to play it. Taking a huge dump. Oh my god! He just popped in like, you guys talking about poo? Yes, we are indeed talking about poo. Glad you heard us. Peach Alert, Peach Pie Lord. I do a news show, sir. I like to talk philosophy. But I do like a news headline show, and you're coming in here asking me about life and death and shit. Yes, we do talk. I actually had a stalker that I dubbed Poop Boy because he sent me at least 1,000 pictures of poop. We had a whole feud on here. This is totally the stream for you. Taking a huge dump, please like, subscribe, share, follow, whatever fucking platform you're on. You're on Twitch. Please give us a follow. If you have the Amazon Prime, I'm not saying you should waste money on me, but if you've got the Amazon Prime, you've got a free Twitch subscription. You should totally give me some of Zuckerberg, or not Zuckerberg, some of Bezos's money. I'm pretty anti-death penalty, Peach. Not a fan of it. Now, you will see me rant about death here in just a little bit. We're going to talk about some cops that opened fire on a car that had an infant inside of it. Unfortunately, I think you already know what the result's going to be if we're talking about it on this stream. So if you want to hear me get pissed off about a death and the taking of a young life, please stick around for that story. But first, we have a Tennessee lawmaker saying something extremely stupid. What's new? Okay, so here is Tennessee State Rep Justin Lafferty. He's going to give us his take on the Three-Fifths Amendment.
The compromise was a direct effort to ensure that southern states never got the population necessary to continue the practice of slavery everywhere else in the country. What does that mean? Appropriation based on population. That's how we pick. Everybody in
He's wrong. He's flat fucking wrong. Like right off the bat, wrong about that. Way wrong.
The Three-Fifths Compromise was a direct effort to ensure that southern states never got the population necessary.
Okay. So good and bad are all relative. That's a label that you as a human being are putting on something, in this case, is a natural occurrence. You're labeling a natural occurrence as good or bad, so it's all about perspective. So asking me whether death is good or bad is just irrelevant. It's like, it all depends on context. It's good in the life cycle of the earth. But now we're going to go back to making fun of dumb fuck right-wingers. I went to college in Tennessee. The lawmakers in Tennessee are the dumbest fucks walking the planet. Especially Representative Justin Lafferty from Knoxville.
Compromise was a direct effort to ensure that southern states never got the population necessary to continue the practice of slavery.
So what he's saying with the Three-Fifths Compromise is that his view is that black people should have been counted as full people for the purpose of the population of the southern states, but they should not have been given rights for the full people. Because remember, that's what the Three-Fifths Compromise is. It's a compromise between free states and slaveholding states. You don't get to count your enslaved population in your population because that makes you stronger than what you actually are. It was a compromise. Oh, we'll only count them as 3/5 of a person. This is for congressional purposes. So what he's saying right here is that they should have been counted as a whole person for the southern states. That would have been the fair thing. To count them as whole people, despite the fact that they were enslaved. Tuberville is my senator. Tuberville is my senator. Tommy fucking Tuberville is my senator. Holy fuck, dude. And he replaced a damn good senator. Senator Doug Jones, a Democrat, very milquetoast, middle-of-the-road Democrat, is the best goddamn fucking politician you were ever going to get from Alabama. I tried my best to raise as much awareness of that race as I could. I donated to his campaign. I campaigned for the motherfucker. I don't phone bank for politicians because the reason I don't phone bank for politicians is because I'm probably going to call somebody a dumb fuck over the phone. I hate that I don't use my talent, my gift of gab, to help politicians I care about. But I feel like I'm doing them a favor by not phone banking for them. Doug Jones prosecuted the KKK members that did the Birmingham church bombing. Doug Jones was always going to be good in my book. Best goddamn fucking politician you'd ever get from Alabama. And that's why I early on in the Biden administration, or in the transition, I lobbied that he be Attorney General. I wish they had have made him Attorney General. Merrick Garland's doing a fine job thus far, though. And yet, yes, Tones, just like the way we do prisoners now, it's the same fucking shit. So that's what this motherfucker is saying here. Let that sink in. Look, tell me this country's not built on white supremacists.
Everywhere else in the country. What does that mean? Appropriation based on population. That's how we pick. Everybody in here knows we've got 9, I hope I'm right, 9 state representatives. By limiting the number of population.
I think there's like 10 or 11, isn't there? I'm not sure. I haven't lived in Tennessee in years.
In the count, they specifically limit.
I hope he's wrong on that one. He's such a dumb fuck. He was right. There's 9. Shit. Sorry.
By limiting the number of population in the count, they specifically limited the number of representatives that would be available in the slave-holding states, and they did it for the purpose of ending slavery, well before Abraham Lincoln.
And he's mad about it.
Do we talk about that? I don't hear that anywhere in this conversation across the country. I don't know how we've gotten here. I don't know what we do about it. But talking about changing our history, changing's not the right word. Talking about incorporating another view of history while ignoring the very writings that we have access to is no way to go about it.
Yeah, the drivers hitting protesters, that's one of those ALEC bills that's been popping up in states all across the country. Tennessee, Florida, they've all fucking have passed or are trying to pass. Fucking, like, the audacity of this guy. This is just another in the long line of conservatives who won't rest until everyone stops teaching kids critical race theory. That's one of the things that they were running on for the upcoming 2022 election. It's the border crisis caused by Biden, critical race theory in schools. By trying to make it difficult for people in denser areas to vote. And people in denser areas already have their votes diluted. And guys, if you don't know about the prison thing, fucking prisons count. Prisons are often built in very rural areas, very conservative districts, right? Out in the middle of fucking nowhere in a state. They count the prisoners towards the population of the place where they are incarcerated in the rural area to bolster right-wing congressional districts. So it's even more of a perverse incentive when you've got an incentive to lock up a certain portion of the population because they don't tend to vote for you. You tend to pass laws that target a certain population. And then it's a double perverse incentive. If you're able to sell contracts to private entities, to funnel public money into corporate hands. And then you're also able to bolster your own congressional power. It's a fucking win-win-win-win for these motherfuckers. The country is built on white supremacy. Conservatives are furious that American schools might actively start to teach that systematic racism is a real problem in the U.S. We have fucking statues up to the oppressors every fucking where. And so far, they're winning the war to stop that from happening. Over the past few weeks and months, suburban school districts, Republican state legislators, and even former President Donald Trump have rallied against critical race theory, a framework that treats race as a construct that's been used to exploit people and acknowledges the racism inherent in major U.S. institutions. You know, the facts. The only problem is that critical race theory has now been co-opted by the right as a stand-in for any attempt to reform schools to provide a more inclusive education for children. So any mention of any kind of racism automatically gets painted as, oh, that's critical race theory, because it's another boogeyman they've created. These right-wingers are like, they love creating these Pavlovian responses. They can just say socialism to other right-wingers, and they're all like, blah, 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 socialism, Venezuela. And now they've done it with this. They've done it with the phrase critical race theory. None of them know what the fuck it even means. It just sounds scary to them. And if we teach critical race theory, black people might want some of our money. That's what they're thinking. Right-wingers are morons. Just in case you guys weren't aware. On Saturday, voters in the Carroll Independent School District in Texas, a district of 8,500 students in the wealthy community of South Lake outside of Dallas, overwhelmingly elected 2 new people to the school board who publicly vowed to reject a cultural competence action plan. I could have done the Nancy clap. Yes, I did do. I was calling them trained seals, yes. After several racist incidents in recent years, including multiple videos showing students in the majority white district saying and chanting the N-word, a district diversity council of dozens of parents, teachers, and staff came up with a 34-page plan that included hiring a director of equality and inclusion, embedding education about diversity and inclusion into the curriculum, cultural competency training for teachers, and creating a process for students to report discrimination. This was met with backlash from conservatives because of course it was. They painted it as an insidious attempt to implant cultural Marxism into America's impressionable young minds. Critical race theory ain't coming here, the South Lake Families PAC, a conservative group opposing the plan, wrote on Twitter on Saturday. This is what happens when good people stand up and say, not my town, not on my watch. While schools and districts across the country have begun reforming their curricula in recent years in response to police killings and the larger... Not high enough for this shit. Maybe I'm too high. I don't fucking know. Maybe the vaccine is kicking in now. For those of you who've just joined me... I got the vaccine. I was hiding from tornadoes yesterday, Mr. Creed. Anytime that I am not on, one of two things have happened. Well, one, you bitched at me for not being on one time, and it was like a total, like a planned thing where I'm like, oh, I've used up all my voice because I've been on. I'm not gonna be on Friday. If I'm not on, two things have happened. I fell asleep after I had lunch and took bong rips. Like, I just happened to lay down on the couch, fell fucking asleep. Slept through the show, sorry. That happens sometimes. I eat lunch about 3 or 4 o'clock, take some bong rips. Sometimes that happens. Depends on how long I've been up. One, I fell asleep. Or two, I'm hiding from tornadoes. And last night it was tornadoes. Well, if I'd been on last night, you wouldn't have had a Smokey. I have 3 cats. 2 of them do not give a shit about storms. But Smokey does not like storms. And Smokey cowers and whimpers and cries. And I did not see him for hours last night. He's got I think it's in the new couch. Because he's got a new hiding place that he goes when it's storming. And I don't know where it is. I can't find him. So I like to take him out, like, oh, dude, it's okay. I know, poor baby, but the other 2 do not give a shit. They'll walk out on the patio, fucking winds blowing, lightning everywhere. Smokey thinks it's the end of the world. I could be having Facebook comments fight. You want to talk about Facebook comments fights? There's one going on right now, I'm pretty sure. That's what this show was originally supposed to be, me showing off my Facebook fights. Oh yeah, that's an odd way of saying cop shot a baby. We're going to get to that story here in just a little bit. Yeah, she said, that's an odd way of saying I didn't read the article. I said, you're right, I didn't. I read it on the Biloxi news site where it happened, actually. What do you think I missed? Because we're getting ready to see it from the Biloxi news site where it actually happened. And this person responded, I think you didn't read the article as you just stated you didn't read the article. No, I did not read the Nashville version of this article. I did not, ma'am. I read it from the Biloxi news site. It happened in Biloxi, Mississippi. So you conflate me working, and it is work because you don't understand that, like, I gain a lot of followers from. I'm trying to comment more from my actual page instead of, me commenting from the Justin Freakin page to gain followers. But a lot of times I am actually working, and when I'm like exporting something, or I've got a bunch of media to import, or I'm using a fucking effect that takes fucking 3 or 4 minutes to process, I flip over to Facebook and troll some people. I'm sitting here in front of my fucking multimedia center. Thank you, ma'am. Alright, so back to critical race theory. Do you want to hear from one of the conservatives who was having a shit fit over it? Her name is Candace Owens.
Kind of being institutionalized now because kids are learning this, and I know, Isabel, you do a lot of work in this space and talked about your experience in a college campus as a conservative.
And I'm pretty sure you guys know this, but I am not high enough to listen to Candace Owens.
But there just seems to be this pollution of minds that all they want children to think about is race. And earlier today, I actually had a friend reach out to me. Her daughter attends a boarding school in Connecticut. And after the trial verdict was read, this is what they sent out to all of the kids. I actually could not even believe. And I'm not going to obviously read this entire letter, but it says, for many, the state of Minnesota versus Derek Michael Chauvin has been a stark, heart-wrenching reminder of the suffering one human being can inflict on another. It has also been a painful reminder that racism still permeates and threatens the everyday lives of marginalized groups in this.
Now, I want everyone to remember, Candace Owens originally came to prominence through a court case in which Candace Owens sued a university over racial discrimination. I think it was a university, wasn't it? Somebody verify me on that one. I believe it was a school. She sued for racial discrimination and won. That's where Candace Owens got catapulted into the spotlight.
This country. Can one of you guys help me? What was the element of the Derek Chauvin trial that was proven to be about race?
Still have yet to answer that question.
One piece of proof?
But you're right, critical race.
Well, we watched numerous pieces of evidence where we saw a black man just constantly get harassed by police. They came at him with guns drawn right off the fucking bat, which I think is a violation of his Fourth Amendment rights. White people don't get that. Sorry, some do. Police are dicks. Police are dicks to everybody. It can happen to white people. It's just more likely to happen to black people statistically. Because you might hear a dumb fuck right-winger say this, the police kill more white people than they do black people. Like, by the numbers, that's true. Police kill more white people than they do black people every year. That's not something to be proud of. It's something that upsets me as well. But when you adjust for population and you look at the statistics per capita, they kill more black people. Sorry.
Race theory is the cancer of education that's now...
And not that. Studies have been done that show that cops are less likely to pull over black people at night. Let that sink. Cops are less likely to pull over black people at night. Cops are less likely to pull over black people at night. The numbers of who they pull over even out during the nighttime. They pull more black people over during the day. Studies have proven it.
Effectively indoctrinating this entire generation of young Americans that are now going to grow up and take that beyond school, so beyond elementary school, beyond middle school and high school and their college campuses, into whatever realm of American society they work in, the halls of Congress, a corporate boardroom, America's streets, genuinely believing it is our duty and responsibility and it is morally correct to view people differently based on their skin color, to believe that white people have had this inherent advantage in our country forever, they still do, and black people are always inherently disadvantaged.
No, not treat them differently. To recognize the way that we've had advantages. People my great-grandfather's age were given land by the federal government because they were white. Black people were still in chains. That has a profound effect on generational wealth. I really can't talk tonight. The vaccine has fucked me up. It has a profound effect on generational wealth. And as we know, generational wealth is one of the number one predictors of success in this country. Recognize and learn better. Exactly.
By the New York Times' 1619 project.
But trying to whitewash it and deny it ain't going to do anything.
And many other school districts across the country. But here's the million-dollar question that nobody has been asking throughout this process. This concept of systemic and institutionalized racism. If it really exists, let's examine every system and institution in American culture today.
Okay.
Higher education and academia, big tech, large corporations, Hollywood.
Okay, so academia, she's at least saying something that, you know, the government has some control over when it comes to public universities. But then she's like big tech and what was it, the media? What private entities? What? You're wanting to force something on private entities? You know, it's one thing to talk about schools and governmental policy because you have control over policy with schools. Big tech is a private corporation. You've told me corporations are like the end-all, be-all in our society. And all of a sudden, because they're not on your side, oh, we got to do something about the corporations. Fuck.
The music industry, movies, everything that permeates our culture daily, all the way up to the federal government, is all controlled by the left.
Right.
So if there's really systemic and institutionalized racism...
That's not true at all. Not true at all. First of all, there is no fucking left in this country. And, ma'am, I don't control fucking shit. And in this hyper-capitalist society, you clearly don't know what the fucking left is. So there's not people advocating for the abolition of private property in mainstream thought in America. If they sell advertising on their fucking media, they can't possibly be the left. Ma'am, you stupid fuck.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
But she's being oppressed by the media.
That is a great question. And Brandon, like, if your child was at this school and
It was a dumb question.
What would you do?
Oh, I'm gonna act a fool. I'm gonna go up there and act a fool. They're gonna call the police on me and everything. You know,
Which is your opportunity.
Well, good luck with that, brother. Let's see how the police treat you. Go in your school. Act a fool. Let them call the police on you. Then you will see what's up, sir. You got it. You Curiouser. You hit it on the head. When she says the left runs the media, she's saying Jews. It's the same anti-Semitic trope. Did you accuse me of throwing out Ebonics? I'm a wrestling fan. It's like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man brother. Did I do that? I'll go back and watch what I said. I get on those rants. Or did I commit the racism? Or are we accusing him of it? I don't know what's going on.
That is a great
question.
And Brandon, like, if your child was at this school and this...
Oh, the act of fool. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I went off on a rant. I didn't know what I said. I might have very well said something that was controversial. I'm sorry. Thank you guys. Okay.
What would you do?
Oh, I'm gonna act a fool. I'm gonna go up there and act a fool.
I want him to and see what happens.
Which is your opportunity to become a victim, by the way.
Right.
Call the police.
Hey, I'm gonna get some money out of this. But
I didn't think you were
unacceptable.
curious, sir.
You don't brainwash kids like this. Let me tell you this: the people who are teaching their kids to love this country and to be accountable for your actions, they are succeeding. You are succeeding. I'm succeeding. When you look at this stuff, if you teach your kids to be a victim their entire life, they will be the bums walking around with no job, being a permanent activist.
Once again, that's a straw man. Teach them to be a victim by recognizing history.
I will never hire somebody that's sitting around making excuses. When I hire people, I do interviews and I talk to them. What value do you bring to the table?
I'm sorry, Tyler Perry, but I'd never work for your fucking company. This isn't Tyler Perry, is it? I don't know who this is.
You say something stupid like systemic racism or something, I will never hire you. This is a complete lie. And the reason why they say it's systemic is because they never fix it. They want it to be the boogeyman.
Because I can show you the statistics.
If you say the court system is racist, pick the judge and you show me that racist judge and have him fired. If you say our country is inherently racist, Joe Biden, who probably can't remember the old Joe Biden because he's brain dead, Joe Biden, how about you step down, Mr. White Supremacy? How about you step down if white people are the problem?
I'm down with it.
Person your spot. They will never do that because they're steady line.
He said, step down, let a black person be in your spot. Like, technically, Joe Biden did do that, sir. That was a weird point to make.
That will never be successful.
He just might do that because Kamala Harris is always just behind him.
I know.
Every time he's speaking, right? So those could be
wow.
last words. And I will say, I think it really is time to talk about pulling kids out of school. And I am not being funny. When you study World War II and you study exactly what Hitler Youth was and what they were trying to do to make sure that the children that were being produced in the school systems in Germany were coming out with
her problem with World War II history is that she doesn't want it taught that, we imprisoned the Japanese here in internment camps. She doesn't want it to be taught that, conservatives tried to assassinate FDR. She doesn't want it to be known that, the conservative bankers financed the Nazi machine here in America. She doesn't want the actual history taught. She definitely doesn't want the history taught that the Russians, the Soviets, The Soviets won World War II. I'm sure she definitely doesn't want that taught in schools, but that is the fact. Oh, and I am sure that she doesn't want the fact that we dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan after they had already surrendered taught as a fact. She doesn't want all those things that actually happened to be taught in schools. No, she wants the fucking whitewashed version of history. Rah, rah, rah. America is amazing. Shut the book. USA on the fucking open answer on every test. That's all you got to do. They are a threat to our national security. Curiouser, they are fucking tired ass talking points. It's the same shit. I've been arguing with the same bullshit my entire adult life. I'm so fucking over it. I want to move on. And there are ways that we have moved on, and I am very proud of that. We have come a hell of a long way in my 20 years as an adult. 20 plus years, whatever.
These perspectives that would only.
But there's also a lot of shit that we still haven't gotten over.
Right now, these kids are being informed. They're being polluted with these perspectives that are not true because they want these kids to come out of school and they want them to be warriors for the government because that's what these kids are doing. They know when they're rioting and looting, and Maxine Waters is saying they want them to be soldiers for the government, and it is dangerous.
And once again, the Trump administration rejected Derek Chauvin's guilty plea last summer. The Trump administration wanted to keep the rioting going. It's projection with these people.
Dangerous ideology, and I do want to bring up this guy. You may have seen it in the news. Incredible. A father pulled his child out of NYC's
totally down for reparations
Brearley School, whose pupils include Chelsea Clinton's daughter, slams it as woke weaning agenda and says it's teaching kids what to
can't imagine when I found out all the countries that actually paid reparations to slave owners. Don't ever think that a country paid reparations to actual slaves. No. They paid reparations to slaveholders. Fucking Britain paid reparations to slaveholders into the 2000s. That shit should piss everybody off. You're right, we do have the soldiers for the government. Literally. Whole branches.
This man is a hero.
He is, and this is a very, very fancy private school. This is a funnel to the Ivy League. I've sent my kids to school in the 80s and 90s. When I took one look at public schools, I resolved that I would do anything, beg, borrow.
Oh, the Panama Papers, that's a whole other can of worms.
Government schools.
And the Paradise Papers on top of it.
The worst horror movies ever made. One missed call, 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, folks. but it put those kids through 3 years of private school because I wanted the power to walk in and say what this guy said. I wanted to say, if you don't teach my kid what he needs to know, we're out of here and we're taking our money with us. And that's why he's a hero.
Thanks for joining me on this most important episode.
So yeah, Candace has just recently launched all her shit on Daily, whatever the fuck it's, Daily Caller, Daily Wire, whatever. One of them's good and one of them's bad. I can't remember. We were like, the Daily Wire is all right. The Daily Caller is Ben Shapiro's bullshit. And these people on the internet, they get brainwashed on the Facebook by Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, and they end up going out and making asses of themselves in public.
I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school. Does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it. Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it. Just
no, you're right. No. Just because she doesn't want critical race theory taught in schools, that doesn't mean she's racist. It's all the reasons why she doesn't want critical race theory taught in schools that make her the racist. You guys ready to hear from Colonel Sanders?
That did the video about LeBron James on TikTok. In case you missed it, here it is.
Dispatch, I've arrived at that disturbance. We have LeBron call my cell phone right.
Oh yeah, we totally played this last week.
Sir? Excuse me. No, can you put the knife down, please, sir? Sir, no, sir, don't stab it. No, stop stabbing. Stop. Oh, hold on.
Because let me ask you a question. Let me ask you before we get to this. Like, you guys might not know what happened to this cop after he posted this video. Let me ask you a question. If you were in your work uniform and you were doing something poorly on the internet, videotaped yourself, and it reflected poorly upon your job and the employer, what would happen to you?
Hold on, it's LeBron. LeBron, hey, yeah, it's me again. Listen, I'm out here at this disturbance call, and there's a guy trying to stab another guy with a knife. What do you think I should do? Why does that matter?
To the gulag.
Okay, well, they're both black.
I wish you got sent to the gulag.
The force is completely justified. I see. So you don't care if
deadly force is completely justified. There's a weird way to put it. A fucking cop? You're the executioner. You get to decide when deadly force is justified.
Person kills another black person, but you do care if a white cop kills a black person.
I wonder how many times Glenn Beck said shut up and do your job when it came to Colin Kaepernick. Or people like Glenn Beck, maybe not specifically Glenn Beck. How many times did they say that Colin Kaepernick should shut up and do his job? Now, Colin Kaepernick is a contracted employee. Colin Kaepernick only had to show up and play the game, do what he had to do, responsibilities. He was not an employee in the traditional sense. This cop is an employee in the traditional sense, working for us, by the way, as he is mocking a celebrity on TikTok, hostile to the citizenry that he is serving. But now, do you think Glenn Beck is going to tell him to shut up and do his job and that he shouldn't have been on TikTok? Or you think Glenn Beck's going to have a different take?
TikTok video. Awesome. They wanted to fire him. His marshal stood up for him, and they suspended him for a week, and there's much more to the story. Nate Sylvester is on with us now, getting ready to go back to work tomorrow, right?
That's correct, Glenn.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Oh, and then he goes and gives an interview?
I'm a little...
Oh my God. Do you know I've been in the media for 20 fucking years? Do you know how tight-lipped the goddamn cops are? I had to go specifically through a media liaison to talk about anything with the cops on record. And this motherfucker just goes and gives an interview to a partisan hack like Glenn Beck.
Little disturbed because I'm a part-time resident of Idaho, and all these Californians are moving in and they're wrecking it. They're making it crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So the mayor is seemingly, this is what I hear. He wants to fire you because he thinks it'll make him famous or get, bonus, some sort of anti-liberty.
Wow.
To fire you for this.
Yeah, that's the rumor that I'm hearing. So
this is the thing that he made up to justify his behavior.
I police in a very liberal area, and the city officials are very liberal, and they weren't happy with the TikTok, and they did want to fire me, but lucky for me, I have a very common sense, loyal marshal who went to bat for me while trying to remain neutral at the same time, so as not to put. Common sense
would say I would have got fired from my fucking job if I had said the same thing that cop had said wearing like a t-shirt for like a television station that I worked for, I would have been fired, hands down.
Put her own job at risk, but so far the suspension wasn't great, but I still have a job, so that's good.
Well, I think you could always get a job in Texas or, other parts of the state. I mean, I'd put good words for you in another part of the state.
Well, I appreciate it.
You had a friend that created a GoFundMe campaign.
That's right.
And you just wanted, he was just
GoFundMe, take it down
for the suspension. And I don't know what they pay police up in Idaho, but last night when I checked, it was at $454,831. So that might be a little higher than the week's.
$454,000 for this douchebag. That deserved what he got. He deserved to be fired. That's what I keep hearing, that all the Californians are moving everywhere and wrecking it. Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Californians are moving everywhere. Apparently they're leaving in droves because they're just, the streets are just shit. As I'm told by right-wingers, now I have friends in California that say this isn't true, but as I'm told by right-wingers, the streets of California are just paved with literal shit everywhere. Yes, this motherfucker raised almost $500,000 for being a jackass on TikTok on the job. Oh, so a lot of people have been leaving California, but that's been the case for like forever. California is one of those states, you go, you make your living, and then you go and you move back. Right? That's the thing. So, yes, you see all these stories about people leaving California. That's true. They're not talking about the replacement rate. California is not losing citizens. And if they are, like, it's just like a thin margin. Yes, why don't the media winch? Why don't you move out here with the rest of us so we can turn the rest of this country blue? Yes, bump him up a few tax. He'll probably get popped for tax fraud. Remember, Chauvin was committing tax fraud. Think about how many cops are committing tax fraud.
Wages.
Just slightly. It's unreal, Glenn. The amount of support that I've been shown has been very humbling and almost, it's been overwhelming.
It's baffling to me, you dumb fuck.
I mean, the letters and the text messages and the emails, people.
Guys, do you know how many times I've been fired from jobs? Can I get a GoFundMe? And I've got hilarious fucking stories to go with every firing. I mean, you listen to me here on this stream. Come on, you think I don't fucking mouth off to every employer that I get fired from? I mean, it's some sort of fucking Nazi haircut or something, isn't it?
All over the country, and even in some parts.
The high and tight.
Canada, Scotland,
but he's not that tight on the top.
People are really stepping up here.
It's really amazing to me that LeBron can say anything and nobody is in an uproar over it.
Yeah.
But
LeBron is a private fucking citizen. LeBron has freedom of fucking speech, which you fucks say that you are all about. A cop is not a private citizen. A cop works for all citizens. And supposedly you don't give a fuck what celebrities think anyway, but you obsess over it. But we all know what it's about. We all know that you get more clicks, more views, more likes just because you're railing on LeBron. Because he's popular and you're not. So you have to ride his fucking coattails. I don't even watch basketball, but I'm told he's the greatest of all time. So fuck off, Glenn Beck. It's a pretty shitty pompadour mohawk. It is a pompadour. That's exactly what it is. That's a pompadour. Is Bree Creed still in here? He is the pompadour expert. I want a ruling on this Nate Sylvester's pompadour.
You can't do anything even humorously poke back with something that is.
Remember when Kathy Griffin held up a fucking head of Trump and these motherfuckers lost their goddamn minds? Glenn Beck's, and this, you can't even do anything humorous. This motherfucker on our fucking tax dollar, wasting our fucking money, bitching about LeBron James, a private citizen, which I think is wrong. I don't think cops should be saying shit about private citizens' stance on issues, because I think that's a violation of their First Amendment. I feel like a cop bitching about a private citizen's speech is a very problematic issue. You want to talk about First Amendment violations? Glenn Beck, I thought you were against censorship, motherfucker.
Very common sense. There's nothing that you said that was offensive in that. Nothing.
Right.
The argument doesn't make any sense, LeBron, and you're a stupid basketball player. So why would we care?
Right.
How is the morale of your compatriots?
Well, they're still reeling from this thing. I work in a very small department. I have five coworkers, including my supervisors, and they've been fielding hundreds and hundreds of phone
calls. Oh, because I'll lose my voice?
They actually
maybe.
Cool. They actually printed out all of the emails in support of me, and right now
I've been going at it all night. We're not even to the thing I'm going to scream the most over. This is the segue into the cop stories. We're getting ready to do the story that I'm going to fucking lose my shit over.
Because they want to show that to the city council.
You haven't missed it.
Much more support than we do opposition. I think there were like 5 total complaints. But we have over 10,000 emails and
we're getting ready to talk about that. That's what I'm getting ready to go the fuck off on.
Definitely a break in what I would describe as maybe the minutia of working in Bellevue, Idaho. But they do have to deal with a bit of a headache fielding all the phone calls and visits to the station. So that's the only part I feel bad about is they're very busy now because of me. But I think
that's better than some places in the country. I mean, I know Bellevue's not like this. This is a sad example here.
Spoiler alert, Scrappy. I hadn't actually read the story yet.
Insane, but at least you're not, a cop in some of these other cities, Los Angeles or in Minnesota.
I guess let's go ahead and get to it. So yeah, this was the one that I was trolling the person about. I mean, I had read the story, but I'm not exactly sure all the details. Hopefully we've got some sort of update. The 3-month-old child who police say was kidnapped by his father in Louisiana. Notice I'm fucking with you, Scrappy. Notice how they're framing this. Like they're going a long way around saying what's going on here. The 3-month-old child who police say was kidnapped by his father in Louisiana has died after a police shootout on Monday. Harrison County Coroner Brian Switzer told WLOX the 3-month-old infant died at 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday at a Mobile hospital. The infant had been identified as LaMelo Parker, a boy who was born January 23rd, 2021. The infant was trapped in the car with the child's father, who police identified as 30-year-old Eric Darrell Smith. Smith is accused of fatally shooting his ex-girlfriend and his nephew early Monday in Louisiana's East Baton Rouge Parish. Smith then left with the infant and fled east, said authorities. The police pursuit began in Louisiana and crossed over the Mississippi line. Now, I don't know how they would not know that the infant was in the car, right? I would hope they would be in contact with family at the murder scene. There would be indications that there was a child at the murder scene, I would assume, and that information should have been relayed I mean, that's what cops are supposed to do. They're supposed to investigate. There should have been some indication that there was a child in the car with him, just given the circumstances. Also, I'm always upset that the cops fucking fire first, it seems. The police pursuit began in Louisiana and crossed over into the Mississippi line. At the 10-mile marker in Hancock County, shots were fired. Since officers knew Smith was likely officers knew Smith was likely traveling with the infant. They knew it when they shot into the car. They worked to bring him to a safe, slow stop, closing off exits along the interstate to keep other drivers safe as well. That's what they should be doing with any police chase. In Long Beach, near mile marker 28, stop sticks were deployed. The suspect drove around them, so the chase continued further east into Harrison County. The vehicle eventually came to a stop in the median near the Wool Market exit. Smith was killed when gunfire was exchanged between the suspect and officers. The baby was also shot and was rushed to the... Notice they don't say the cops shot him in the story. The baby was also shot and was rushed to Merritt Health in Biloxi, then airlifted to USA Trauma Center in Mobile, Alabama, according to authorities. Exactly. Why did they shoot at all if they suspected there was a newborn in the car? Or infant. I guess not newborn. Police initially said the baby was in stable condition. However, on Tuesday morning, Biloxi police confirmed that the child had died. They lied. They lied. Also, remember, cops always lie about these instances. So it's probably worse than what we're hearing right now. Despite the efforts of medical staff, the child passed away as a result of the injuries sustained. As stated, the investigation is ongoing at this time. Once a thorough investigation is completed, the details will be released to the district attorney. You know, I told Meteor Winch I was going to get all upset, but like, I'm bummed out. This made me fucking sad. Yeah, I'm pissed at the fucking cops, but I mean, how many rants can I go on about the cops just firing willy-nilly? Schweitzer said an autopsy is scheduled for Wednesday. An autopsy will be done to determine the exact cause of death. All we are releasing now is that he died as a result of injuries. Smith was sitting in the driver's seat of the car when he was hit with multiple gunshots. The coroner said the shot that killed him was not a self-inflicted wound. The police did kill the suspect. This was the scene. The suspect's vehicle, a blue Nissan Versa with dark tinted windows, was spotted on MDOT traffic cameras with a large number of law enforcement in pursuit. So there you can see the scene. I'm sorry for making you cry. This is not the first story I've done about a child dying at the hands of cops. Unfortunately, it's... Oh, God. How far are you from where this happened? Wow. Yeah, this was the scene. Traffic around 3:30 on Monday. It's going to be interesting to see how police proceed with how much information, how forthcoming they are with the public on this story. I tend to always think that cops are lying to me. So I don't know that I believe the initial account. We'll see what happens as the investigations move forward over the next couple of months. Unfortunately, in Atlanta, an insane turn of events regarding a cop that was fired last year after shooting a man in the back. Now, if This is a common theme here tonight. If you or I were charged with murder, what would happen to us at our jobs? Do you think they'd let us come back and work our jobs? Somebody that works in a fast food restaurant charged with murder wouldn't get to go back and work the morning shift. But this son of a bitch who is supposed to serve the public gets to go back to being a cop.
Brooks last summer, and right now here at 5 o'clock, just a few
Let me go back since I had the sound down there.
The Atlanta Police Department to reinstate Officer Garrett Rolfe today. He's the man who killed Rayshard Brooks last summer. And right now, here at 5 o'clock, just a few protesters are
leaving off the part that he is awaiting trial for murder. It's a weird thing. The framing by news agencies is so weird. This man is awaiting trial for murder.
Are starting to gather outside of Atlanta City Hall.
And here is the latest. Atlanta's Civil Service Board ordered Rolfe's reinstatement. The board said the city failed to comply with Rolfe's right to due process. It's important to note this does not prevent the police department from eventually firing him.
By the way, the irony doesn't comply with due process. That's exactly what he's accused of doing to a fucking citizen, depriving him of his due process.
And we have live Team 2 coverage with reaction from the Brooks family and the impact.
I honest to God believe we'd be better off without cops.
Justin, Greg, Justin, you are live at City Hall.
We need some sort of police force, but we need to fucking fire them all and start from scratch. That's what they did in Camden, New Jersey, and they had great results.
Protesters starting to gather. They were supposed to start right here at 5 o'clock. Some of the signs reading APD has blood on their hands. Don't run from justice. These protesters gathering to show their support for Rayshard Brooks and their concern about today's decision. The decision to overturn the firing of Garrett Rolfe as an Atlanta police officer has nothing to do with the deadly.
I would never call the cops.
Atlanta's Civil Service Board made no rulings or comment on whether the shooting of Rayshard Brooks was justified. Instead, the board ruled it violated fire Rolfe.
And this video, man, like we watched this last year on the Troll Patrol. Like this tears me apart. Like the dude was complying with him. He was going along with it. I don't understand. I don't know why he ran. I don't know what was up. But like fuck, like he didn't deserve to be shot in the back. Fucking coward. He didn't deserve to be murdered.
Notice or investigation. After a 5-hour Zoom hearing last month, Atlanta's Civil Service Board today issued an order.
Never call the cops.
The board concludes the appellate was.
Where were you when I needed a Pompadour ruling?
Rolfe's attorney Lance LaRusso by Zoom.
Any employee of the city of Atlanta is entitled to due process before they're terminated or disciplined.
Garrett Rolfe is still facing 11 criminal charges, including murder.
11 criminal charges, including murder. But you need to reinstate him as an officer. This video is clearly fucking up on us. So let's move over to my old stomping grounds, Bristol, Virginia. Oh God, it's her. Fans of the show have heard her call in before and argue with me. Don't call the cops. Exactly. So weird circumstances surrounding this. I'm not sure all the details. This happened in the Tri-Cities area where I went to college. Call the cops, get shot by the cops. That's the story over and over again in this country. But a Bristol, Virginia police officer has been charged with murder in connection with an officer-involved shooting. Jonathan Brown has been indicted on charges of murder, use of a firearm in the commission of a murder, and malicious shooting into an occupied vehicle. The fatal shooting took place March 30th outside the Roadway Inn in Bristol, Tennessee. A special prosecutor has been assigned to the case. Roanoke City's Commonwealth Attorney, Donald Caldwell. Now, Virginia has a Democratic governor. So I'm sure that helps out a lot. If this happened, Bristol sits in 2 states. The Bristol racetrack is in Bristol, Tennessee. This happened in Bristol, Virginia, which is the home of country music. Honestly, Josh Duggar gets out on bond. This motherfucker gets out on bond. The cop awaiting the murder trial in Atlanta for shooting Rashad Brooks. Yeah. He's out on bond. You get charged with trafficking of marijuana, they might not let you out on bond. So there's no details. Still no details. They're being... So, I did read another story about this. That, yeah, the dude... there's an eyewitness account, but they didn't see it. They heard it. It's an eye hearing account. And as always, cops lie. We need to see body camera footage from this. Ear witness, indeed. In St. Albans, West Virginia, a cop has been caught on camera. We're probably only hearing about it because he was caught on camera.
A video involving St. Albans police is getting attention on social media. The incident has the chief of police weighing in, saying there's more to it than meets the eye.
I don't care what more there is to it. He kicked a man that was clearly restrained in the head multiple times. Fuck off.
Anytime you go hands-on, force, it's not pretty. I don't know of any other way to put it.
Tuesday morning, St. Albans police say they received a call about a man causing a disturbance. Officers talked him out of the road, but say that's when the suspect became combative.
We did the...
So he's having a mental episode.
I stunned him 2 or 3 times. Still combative.
According to police, the man had brass knuckles in his pocket and was trying to get them out. St. Albans Police Chief Joe Crawford says the suspect also tried grabbing the stun gun from officers, which prompted the kicking.
He grabs the taser from the officer and has part of the taser as he's trying to get it from the officer. The one officer goes around to the side, and you can see him trying to kick what everybody thinks is the suspect on the ground. What he's trying to do is kick the taser out of the suspect's hand.
I don't believe it.
Could have access to body cam footage. He says the department doesn't have them.
The department doesn't have body cams. Oh, how convenient. Because that's exactly what I would like to see, the body cam footage. All right, so we've got some issues. First of all, Derek Chauvin's lawyers have filed an appeal. I know it's been made a big deal about a lot of news agencies. It's just because that trial is high profile. Those media stories are getting a lot of clicks and shit. The fact that he filed an appeal is not surprising. It's a part of the legal process. So this was totally going to happen no matter what. Please do, Scrappy. I've been using, depending on which site it is, I've got a service called Outline, and I can take it and it will just give me, and it gives me pictures and everything. Just the text and the pictures, takes all the ads out. But it doesn't work with every site. Like, it doesn't work with the Daily Mail. I would like to see more tones. Like, it looked very malicious. Like, knowing cops the way I do, he was probably taking a shot at the suspect. Come on. But I mean, trying to kick a taser out of his hand, okay, that's reasonable. I can believe that. I would put money on excessive force. Unfortunately, we'll never know. And we'd never even know about the incident because, and I will promise you, people don't believe me about this. If you were to look up that police report, there is no mention of any kind of excessive force, kicking, because cops just lie, flat out lie. We would not know about that incident if somebody hadn't captured it on cell phone. And that should scare the fucking pants off of you. Knowing what we know about our legal system and what was going on before cell phones were everywhere. And the fact that they still do it knowing they're being taped in places. If they're as brazen now with cell phones everywhere, knowing they're being recorded, imagine what the cops were like years ago. Thank you, Scrappy. You rock. The murder trial of ex-Minneapolis cop Derek Chauvin is back in the headlines after a photo that recently surfaced on social media showed one of the jurors wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt at a civil rights march last summer, raising questions about the jury's impartiality. Brandon Mitchell, the first juror to speak publicly since Chauvin was found guilty of killing George Floyd, insisted on Monday that he remained neutral during the 3-week trial last month and was honest during jury selection. He said he joined the August 28th event in the nation's capital to commemorate the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. They do. They get off on using excessive force. The viral picture shows the 31-year-old high school basketball coach wearing a t-shirt with a picture of the late civil rights legend and the words BLM, get your knee off our necks. So, that shouldn't be a controversial statement, right? Get your knee off our necks. But apparently that would taint a juror. I found a COVID vaccine in my fucking arm today, and it hurts. Like, the vaccine does not hurt at all. Boom, in and out, no problem. Your arm does indeed get sore later. Ow. The fired police officer, this referring to Derek Chauvin, is awaiting sentencing after the 12-person jury convicted him of murder and manslaughter in the May 2020 killing of Floyd. Chauvin, who knelt on the black man's neck for more than 9 minutes, is expected to appeal the decision. Clearly, this article was written before the actual appeal came through, I think yesterday. This absolutely should have been looked at before. If there were any issues, this should have came up during jury selection. Not a problem. Not an issue. I don't think the courts will fucking even take up the matter. Like, nah. Dismissed just because it was fucking shaky grounds to begin with. Chauvin's attorney Eric Nelson has not publicly addressed Mitchell's photo, but experts say he will likely use the image as grounds for an appeal. Civil rights attorney Brian Dunn told the Washington Post that the photo is undeniably suggestive of a possible bias in this juror. But a judge would have to determine whether Mitchell lied about or failed to provide complete answers, or whether he is engaged in public activism, or whether he has any affiliations with BLM that go beyond mere wearing of the shirt. So cut and dry. Appeal ain't gonna happen, Copper. Anyway, he's facing several other charges, including kneeling on another kid's neck and tax fraud. There's a lot of things that I would like to see reach the Supreme Court that just never fucking will, that I would love to get a ruling on. But also, the current Supreme Court that we have is fucking cowards. They're only going to rule on business matters, red meat for their fucking base and shit. All right, so finishing up tonight, we're going to do a little international news. Are you guys ready for some good news coming from Israel? How often do I say that? Benjamin Netanyahu has failed to form a government. His future is now in doubt. Also, once again, a official wholly corrupt. I don't know how he's even still in office. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to form a government before his mandate expired on Tuesday night, putting him in the most vulnerable position he has faced politically since becoming prime minister in 2009. This is the third time in the last 2 years that Netanyahu has had the first crack at forming a government, but failed to do so. But this time, his rivals may be able to form a government without him. Goes back to a parliamentary system. It's a little different than clearly the way we do it here. I know! Almost like you can criticize the policy of Israel and call their leader corrupt because he is, as multiple investigations have found. President Reuven Rivlin has 3 days to hold consultations with the various parties before deciding who will receive the mandate next. Rivlin's aides tell me he's most likely to give the mandate to the centrist opposition leader, Yair Lapid, who has at least 45 members behind him in the 120-seat Knesset. I'm not familiar with their fucking government at all. I have no clue how to say the name of their fucking parliament. Let's find out. This show's about learning, isn't it? Let's find out how to say it. Well, I've got it right here in front of me. Why wouldn't I?
Knesset.
Knesset. The Parliament of Modern Israel, established in 1949. It's illegitimate.
Knesset.
Knesset. For almost 2 weeks, it has been clear that Netanyahu didn't have a path to a majority. He is focused instead on trying to drive a wedge between Lapid and Naftali Bennett, the leader of a right-wing party. The two have been negotiating towards an alternative government. I didn't know there was a party beyond Netanyahu's right-wing party. Oh, I'm not even going to attempt that. No, I just did. Netanyahu considered unprecedented steps to try to sabotage the transfer of the mandate. Doesn't surprise me. Including falsely notifying Rivlin that he formed a government. These motherfuckers are shameless. Oh, man. Netanyahu has also considered ordering his right-wing bloc to recommend to Rivlin that he give the mandate to Bennett rather than Lapid. Netanyahu could then pressure Bennett to negotiate only with his fellow conservatives. But that plan, too, fell apart after Bennett refused to rule out negotiations with Lapid. The outlines of a potential Lapid-Bennett power-sharing deal are already clear, despite Bennett's party only winning 7 seats in the Knesset. That's probably racist of me to do that. I'm sorry, Jewish people. Fucking love you. You have provided me with so much entertainment in my life. All of my favorite comedians are Jewish. The center left, which won more seats, would control most government ministries. However, all government decisions would have to be decided by consensus, and each bloc would have veto power. The government would steer clear of controversial ideological issues and focus on the post-COVID recovery, the economy, and restoring some unity to the country after 4 consecutive election campaigns with corrupt-ass Benjamin Netanyahu, who should be in jail. Knesset. I'm going to stop trying. I do like Mel Brooks. Not so. I like all the comedians Mel Brooks inspired. Like, literally, Mel Brooks is all my favorite comedians' favorite comedian. I do like Mel Brooks. I've been told that I would absolutely positively love Woody Allen. But I have refused to watch any of his shit. And also, Larry David, one of my absolute idols, credits Woody Allen as one of his idols. But clearly, I mean, you guys all know why I shied away from Woody Allen, clearly. All right, if you are watching on Twitch, you are going over to Echoplex. What is it, Wednesday night? It's, oh shit, it's the Intellectual Dollar Tree. Oh, fuck yeah. Knesset. That was easily, that was easy. Scrappy. Knesset. Thank you. You do such a good job of spelling things out phonetically. The media winch isn't going to join us for Intellectual Dollar Tree. She doesn't like the topics they cover over there. But we're sure to have some fun. So, if you're following on Twitch, we're going to Echoplex. I'm going to head in there with you. Go ahead, light one up and tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol. Live. Unless I'm having symptoms of the vaccine. And I'm going to try to tough my way.